Hello, everyone. RP Davis from Kabouter Games here with yet another episode of Meet the Creators, where we take a moment to talk to the creative team behind our book, Villains Next Door. And this time, we have with us Mr. Sven Truckenbrodt, who's ringing us all the way
Hello.
from, is it Vienna?
Yeah, Vienna, exactly.
Lovely, lovely. So, Sven, you're going to get the same batch of questions that I've been giving to everyone else. And it begins with, how did you get your start in tabletop role playing games?
Yeah, I came to this pretty late in life. I kind of grew up in a little village somewhere in the Bavarian province where there was not much in terms of role-playing games around. I always was interested, I just could never find the people to play with. But in my like mid to late 20s, I was doing my PhD, and another student had joined the lab, and he was super excited because fifth edition for D&D had come out just the same year. And he was trying to get a group together and asked me, and I was super excited and I wanted to play. And then nobody wanted to DM because everybody wanted to play, of course, like always. And I kind of had this now or never moment. So I just said, I've never done this, I've never even played, but I'll DM it. So let's do it.
Wow.
Let's just see what happens. And it
Brave.
was really fun.
That's a brave jump right into the deep end.
Well, it was with friends, and with friends, you can be brave quite easily, right?
That's true. That's true. And how did you make the transition into creating content for other gamers to consume?
Yeah, that came pretty close after that. So after like 2 years or something like that, I had to move to another city for my job. And it took a little while until I found like new people to play with. And in the meantime, I still kind of wanted to share this newfound joy in some way. And I always wanted to write creatively. And I thought, well, that seems like a pretty good fit, like a kind of non-threatening, straightforward way to get into it. And then I started to write my own adventures at first, and then branched out into different content over time.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, as an adventure writer, you probably have a very well defined concept of what makes a person a villain. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a very good question and a complex one. For me, I think villains are kind of defined by the fact that they at some point just stop listening to others. They somehow start viewing their own needs or their own opinions above all else. They might even have good intentions at first. They might think they are the strongest, or they are the smartest, or they have the solution to the problem. And in that sense, they're kind of similar to heroes, actually, who are often also the strongest and the smartest around. But villains at some point just cease listening to others. They stop listening to what others would actually like to see or what others would actually need. And they decide they have the solution. And the way they want to do it is the correct way to do things. And yeah, that's kind of where for me you
Okay.
start sliding into becoming a villain.
That's an interest. That's yeah. It's an interesting take on it. Um, so how does that apply to the one of the villains you wrote for the book?
Yeah, so one of the villains I wrote is called Bernard Soltesch. He is a sheriff, and I mean, all people, at least you would hope to, all people who kind of go into law enforcement kind of start out from a good place in some sense. But as we all know, power can be kind of corrupting. And once you are in such a position of power, it's quite easy to just start abusing it. You think, well, if I do this in my way, if I enforce the law in my way, maybe I can, mm, well, just steer things
Yeah.
into a direction where you know where it's not only about this case, but about other cases.
Yeah.
Maybe you start to think you can manipulate the entire community. It's not about how this particular case turns out, it's about how you can steer the community in a way. And Bernard, in particular, I would kind of consider him a casual villain.
Hmm.
Like, he just sometimes doesn't really think things through, you know? um, he he does things without really considering how it will affect other people
Right,
in the
right. So
end.
not so much from selfish motives, but just thoughtlessness.
Just thoughtlessness, yes.
I
I
see.
mean, this is where a lot of villainy also can come from.
Yeah.
You might just not really think through what your actions will
That
cause.
kind of casual villainy, if we can coin the phrase.
Yeah,
It's an interesting, yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it, and I can't wait to see the finished product in the book. We're in the process of crowdfunding it now on Indiegogo, and that's what these updates are for. And I'm
and you
hoping,
should all join in.
thank you, and I'm hoping that people get a really more solid idea of what the book is about with these updates, so that they can mine this book for stuff for their own games, or heck, for their fiction they're writing. That could
Yeah,
also work. It's these concepts tend to be universal, and some of the sheer wretched dastard, just dark places some of these villains are coming from is I'm kind of like I'm wondering what happened to you people. But
for
anyway,
sure. But I also think the appealing thing about these villains in this book is kind of that all of them are very relatable in some sense. They are
yeah,
all people you might have known at some point in your life in some fashion.
yeah.
I feel like a lot of them are like
I think a lot of them
you
are.
get them.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are like there, but for the grace of God go I.
Yeah, yeah.
And that, in a way, it helps me feel smug and superior about how I've lived my life. But in another way, it's kind of an object lesson in not being a jerk.
Yes, definitely.
Well, Sven, thank you for stopping by. It's a pleasure to meet you, even vicariously for the first time. And I hope we get
Thank
to
you for
meet
having me.
together in person once all of this settles down. We can do the con scenes here in Europe and
Yes.
have a great time. At any rate, this is the point, YouTube watchers, where I point down here and do the whole like, subscribe, ring the bell thing. You knew it was coming. You've watched YouTube videos before, so just do the thing, and we'll all be happy. And rush over to Indiegogo and back Villains Next Door if you haven't done so already. If you have done so already, thank you. And until next time, I'm R P Davis. He has been Sven Truckenbrodt. Can you tell I'm really happy and just proud of being able to pronounce your last name?
Well done.
And yeah, until then, we'll say goodbye for now. Cheers.